All right, positive energy all the time. Good to see you all. Rep your city, rep your city. We got Indianapolis in the house. Everybody on Facebook, Kick, Twitch, YouTube, and my other Facebook account. I am representing Chicago, Illinois. So come on in and rep your city, represent your city. We're a little early. We're going to talk about the situation with reparations in Evanston, Illinois. I'm going to be talking about reparations a lot this month. I got some really good discussions on it. I'll be here later tonight with another discussion on reparations that I think is fantastic. So let's get it. Come on in, come on in. Represent your city. The city of Evanston, Illinois, is going to issue $25,000 reparation checks to 44 residents. Yes, indeed. To 44 residents. Good to see you. More power. Yeah, the city of Evanston, Illinois is going to give 44 residents $25,000. This money is taken from the cannabis industry. Smart. They're taking some of the tax money from the cannabis industry and using it for reparations. That's something the United States could consider, although I would advise getting the money from the corporations that made all of the money. The cotton industry, the railroad, some of these clothing industries, these big insurance companies, and these huge banks. They're the ones made the profit, and they're the ones that should pay the fine. Come on in, come on in. We're not supposed to be doing this. We got another 3 minutes before this live is supposed to start. So come on in and rep your city, represent your city. The great city of San Jose is in the building. During the election and the Trump administration's first year, reparations wasn't discussed too much. We were really focusing on lineage for this past year. We want to get more Black Americans to identify as foundational Black Americans. We're really pushing lineage. which is just as important as reparations because your reparations is based on your lineage. So you can't get reparations if you weren't the people here doing all of this discrimination, which includes slavery, redlining, and many other atrocities that happened to foundational black Americans. Many foundational black American soldiers didn't even get their money from their GI Bill. We'll be covering a lot of that this Black History Month. Yes, indeed. So come on in, rep your city, represent your city. Hit the like button, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and support the channel. Also, if you see the hype button, hype this live stream, although the hype button sometimes is there, sometimes it's not. I'm not sure what's going on with that. Yeah, Chris. Yes, indeed. Good to see you. We got Seattle in the building. I love Seattle, Washington. Been out to the Seattle Hemp Fest a couple times. Need to go back out there and check it out again. I enjoyed my time in Seattle, although I didn't really get to see much because every time I went, I spent the whole 2 days at the Hemp Fest. So maybe next time I go, I'll get the chance to really tour the city. If you've never been to the Seattle Hemp Fest, it's a must. If they're still having it, which they probably are, most likely. I don't live in Evanston. I don't live in Evanston, Illinois. I live in Chicago. I don't live in Evanston. That's a small town called Evanston. That's north of Chicago, right on the border, basically, of Chicago. A small town, college town, kind of, sort of. They probably wouldn't say they're a college town, but there's a college there. So I'm a Chicago resident. I'm not a resident of Evanston. Yeah, Chicago is a city, Illinois is a state. So that's Evanston, Illinois. You have Peoria, Illinois, you have Springfield, Illinois, like that. But Evanston is right next to Chicago. Back in the day, in the reggae days, a lot of Jamaicans, when they came here, they lived in Evanston back then. Not too much now, I don't think. Although I'm sure it's probably still some live up there. And 44 residents are about to get $25,000 apiece. I'm not sure if it's per home or whatever, but we will have more details when the money is released. Then we will have more details on that. Come on in, hit that like button, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and support the channel. Run the likes up. No, I'm sure that the reparations would be based on how long you were living there and if you were there doing certain housing discrimination or something like that. That's why uh, it's important to keep all your records. So I doubt if you would be able to get reparations because I don't think this is U.S. reparations they're getting. I think this is local reparations for local discrimination. So there is a possibility that foundational Black Americans in different places get reparations twice. You might get reparations for discrimination in your city or your state. Then you might get the reparations for slavery and Jim Crow and all that. One wouldn't affect the other because, let's say, redlining and all of that. A lot of blacks went through that in the 50s and the 60s and the 70s. So that would be reparations for more recent atrocities. The overall national reparations would go all the way back to slavery, Jim Crow, and all of that. So it's very possible to be owed reparations for recent atrocities in areas and then reparations for national problems that are older, that would be more ancestral, meaning go back further generations. Why do I think cities like San Francisco, Oakland, and Evanston, because that's Evanston, Illinois is a state, and Evanston prompt to give reparations to these places? I think it's based on the organizations. I think it's based on the organizations, who's in the organizations, who's on the city council, and stuff like that. So if you're in Evanston, Illinois, and you got people in the government of Evanston, and they all for it, then they'll pass it. If you're in Springfield, Illinois, and you don't have people in Springfield, Illinois government who's for it, then it won't come up uh, in front of the city council. So these things are based on who are the politicians, who's the city council. If you got a negative city council or a lazy Senate council, city council, nothing will happen. If you got an aggressive city council and a more fair and balanced city council, it'll happen. Just like you got different laws in different cities, different states, same thing. Evanston is a real modern, advanced minded city, open minded city. So it makes sense that they would do it. college town, they're going to always be more aggressive depending on what type of college it is. So like Santa Barbara and LA and California be much different than San Diego or Los Angeles. Santa Barbara is Santa Barbara, and the decisions they make has nothing to do with the politicians in San Diego. Kind of like that, Robert. San Francisco and Oakland have always been traditionally more open-minded cities historically anyway. Yeah, they just got to push it. You're 100% correct. Eventually, everybody will do it. The federal government will eventually give foundational Black Americans reparations. That's for sure. I'm going to be talking about that later on tonight. They are for sure, no doubt, going to give foundational Black Americans reparations in the United States of America. No ifs, ands, and buts about it. I'm going to talk about that tonight. That is definitely going to happen. No doubt. The only problem is will there still be cash or will everything be digital? Digital will be a disaster. If we go into a cashless society. If we go into a cashless society with no cash and a bunch of debit and credit cards and microchips, that's going to be a disaster. It's going to be the day you wish you never had been raking cards. We got my brother Tim representing Texarkana. Good to see you, Tim. I hope you're doing well. If we go digital currency, it'll be a disaster. Worst thing when it comes to business and economics and jobs, it'll be the worst thing done in human history. That'll be horrible. Absolutely horrible. Some people will lose everything they got because you could be hacked. And all your money's just gone. When you got cash, Robert, imagine you can put your cash in the safe. You can put your cash in the bank. Imagine if your cash is on the web. Imagine if every penny you got right now was computerized. Where anybody really good at computers could see your cash. Which would you rather have? Your money in a safe hidden on the floor or something? Or on the web where some genius could push a button and clean you out? Clean you out. You know what I'm saying? I don't want my money on the web. I don't want digital money. I don't want push button money. That's crazy. And with push button money, governments can just fine you and just take it. Imagine they could take the money before you're ready to pay them. Imagine getting a traffic ticket and they take it right now, and you was going to use your money to maybe pay your daughter's bill for her new private school, and now you're $125 short of your $1,200, where you was gonna pay the school, and your next check you was gonna pay them, but they take it right now. You know how much that's gonna ruin in people's life to have them take the money when they get ready and not when you're financially ready. Oh my God. Can you imagine running a red light and the money comes out your account right then, like a speed camera? Once you go into a digital system, they'll start making the speed cameras go off more often. They'll put more school light zones, and the money will just be flying out of accounts daily, millions. Man, you pay a meter, you run in the store, you're in there a little bit longer, the meter click up, and they take the money. Soon as the meter, whew, you'll, boy, imagine that. Imagine you didn't get a chance to pay a ticket when you got ready and they just took it. Jesus. Imagine when it's time for property taxes and they take it the day it's due. And you start seeing commercials. Okay, property taxes is due September 2nd. Make sure you have your money in your account because we taking it. If you don't want us to take it right then, go here, fill out this, and we'll take it 30 days later for a $75 fee. AI is going to allow your wife to call you and say a car broke down, send her some money, and it ain't your wife. AI is going to allow your daughter to call you and say she's kidnapped, but it ain't your daughter. It's AI. Uh-uh. AI. Ooh. You ain't gonna know who you're talking to. You ain't gonna know what's real. How you gonna know what's real? You right now I can't tell what's real on my Instagram. I don't know if it's a real commercial. They're taking AI and using somebody else's voice and all type of that's horrible. So for you all just joining, the city of Evanston, Illinois is going to issue $25,000 reparations check to 44 residents in the city of Evanston, Illinois. The city of Evanston, Illinois is set to issue $25,000 to 44 residents through reparations payments. The Evanston Reparations Committee has announced why it matters. In 2019, Evanston became the first city in America to give publicly funded reparations to Black Americans. The committee announced that it will issue 44 payments to community members on February 5th. Those next in line to receive payments, which will be the amount of $25,000, have the selection numbers 121 through 171. So they're taking selection numbers, I assume, and giving out the payments. The payments are intended to cover housing expenses. The fund is primarily supported by two taxes, a cannabis sales tax and real estate tax money. Though the United States has not implemented a widespread slavery reparations program, calls have circulated across the country for them to be introduced, as several states and cities have pushed for proposals and programs which would benefit the descendants of slaves and Black Americans at large. So this is not the widespread slavery reparations. This is the local reparations. Eligibility requirements. Applicants had to be Black residents of Evanston, 18 or older, who lived in the city between 1919 and 1969 and are descendants of such individuals or are descendants. So this is foundational Black American descendants of slavery only can get this, right? Because there were no whole bunch of Black immigrants in Evanston at that time. So these are people that still live in Evanston that could prove that their family was there between 1919 and 1969. So it's like my parents, I was born in 1958, and we end up living in Maple Park around 1962. So if they were giving out reparations in that area, then we would qualify because we were there. They would have obviously found some type of discrimination or something like that was going on in Evanston. Definition of ancestors. The program used the term ancestor to define Black individuals who met the residency requirement during the period when housing discrimination occurred. So they're getting paid based on the discrimination that occurred in the around the 1919 era to 1969 before they changed laws and probably cleaned it up. So these are people that went through all type of racial discrimination, which was pretty bad from 1919 to 1969. Racism was ridiculous. Focus on housing. The initial approved phase was restricted to 25,000 grants for home improvement, mortgage assistance, or down payment. So this is just to help them out with their living conditions based on what their families went through back in the early 1900s, early to mid 1900s. Because funds were limited, the city utilized a lottery system to select residents from the verified pool of applicants. Following the initial housing grants, the program was expanded to allow for direct cash payments as confirmed by news reports from February 2026. The program was spearheaded by Alderman Robin Rue Simmons and the city's reparations committee. So I think hopefully they will get everybody one by one. They had limited funds, so they could only probably help so many at a time. That's why it said that this was have selected numbers 121 through through to 171. So they probably got a bunch of numbers, and they're going to go every so often when they raise the money and take care of everybody listed. But they can only do so many at a time, but they're going to get around to everybody. I'm not sure what Tulsa has to do with Evanston, Illinois. They is not the same they. The they in Tulsa is not the they in Evanston. So I hope you're not saying they like all of those are the same people, John. These are not the same people. So it's not technically a they. This is Evanston, Illinois, a local city that did that. They really have nothing to do with Tulsa. So it's not they. Those people are not they. That's not the Tulsa they. They have nothing to do with Tulsa. You say, but they. People in Evanston can people in Evanston give money to a lady in Tulsa? Yeah, but I want you to say things so my audience to raise intelligence. If you come over and say, yeah, but they didn't give her, you misleading young people. That's like misleading, brother. That's misleading. Now you could have said, too bad Tulsa don't do the same thing Evanston did. That would make sense. But to say, yeah, but they didn't do it for so and so, so and so, that's insinuating it's the same people. I know you understand what I'm saying. If I say the people in Evanston gave people reparations, you say, yeah, but they didn't give it to the lady in Tulsa. That's basically what you just said. You basically said the people in Evanston didn't pay reparations in Tulsa, which has nothing to do with this conversation, right? So, uh, they're doing good things in Evanston, and what they're doing in Evanston is a good example. When it makes the news, it'll make other cities, it'll make other city councils say, we need to do that. We need to do that. We get enough money from marijuana and taxes. We could do that. Also, if you're giving money for home improvement and property taxes, that definitely helps the city from having a bunch of abandoned homes and stuff like that. So definitely, Evanston is on the right path to give these people that been there since the early to mid 1900s that were discriminated against, give them money for home improvements to keep the property, to keep the city nice. Because sometimes when people lose their property, nobody else come and get it. And a house that nobody's living in could get to the point where the whole house has to be torn down and redone because there was nobody living in it to keep and maintain it to stop it from dry rotting and rodents moving in and raccoons digging holes and coming in. So it's definitely smart. All the cities should do that. It's very smart. If you could see any discrimination that went on to residents in your city, that's smart because they help the people that been there from a certain period. So I think that was really smart They helped the applicants that been there from 1919 to 1969. So applicants had to be foundational Black American residents of Evanston, 18 or older, who lived in the city between 1919 and 1969, or are descendants of such individuals. So if my grandmother lived there or my parents lived there, then I would get uh, I would get my reparations for whatever discrimination went on at that particular time. And see, these are great things. Reparations is going to be great. Eventually, blacks around the world will catch on, and they'll say, well, instead of us hating on foundational Black Americans, we're here in West Africa. We need to get our reparations from Spain, Portugal, and England, France. We need to focus on our reparations. That's what I never understood about the brothers and sisters in the Caribbean and Africa. I'm like, I don't understand what's wrong because they are owed reparations from Europe for sure. You living on land, and they not only mistreated you and invaded your land, they stole all your natural resources. So it was just weird to me that blacks in the Caribbean and Africa didn't jump in support of reparational foundation of Black Americans. I said, what the hell's wrong with them? Right now, I think you got like 7 or 9 countries in West Africa that's paying, I think, the French. That's crazy. And Haiti is still paying the French. Haiti is paying the French reparations. There's Black Caribbean countries and African countries that's paying the Europeans because the Europeans lost their slaves. They said, because y'all rose up, we lost our slaves and we want to be compensated for our slaves. Let that sink in. Haiti is paying France because France said they lost their slaves. You can't make this up. You can't make this up. Man, that's why I've been looking at a lot of the brothers and sisters from Africa and the Caribbean, and I'm just like, I don't understand what's wrong with them. Is your dislike for foundational Black Americans so much that you won't even fight for your own reparations? Come on. You gotta be kidding me. That's when the Black on Black, look, 14 former French colonies in Africa pay a colonial tax amounting to about 500 billion. These countries are Benin, Burkina Faso, Cote d'Ivoire, however you pronounce that, Guinea, Mali, Niger, Senegal, Togo, Cameroon, Central African Republic, Chad, Congo, Equatorial Guinea, and Gabon. They are paying the French 500 billion. They paying the invaders. Now, Nigeria ain't giving nobody nothing. Salute to Nigeria. You don't see Nigeria on there. That's one thing. I be getting down on Nigerians. Hey, but Nigerians, they ain't going. They ain't going. They not. Look, Nigerians ain't giving nobody nothing. But at the same time, they was selling all the slaves. So maybe they don't own nothing because they was the ones selling them. So I don't know. Uh, I don't know what's going on with Senegal, Niger, Mali. I don't know. Well, I do understand the Central African Republic. They all still up under colonial colonialization. So I don't know, but this was in 2023 when I tell me that ain't crazy. Paying the French $500 billion. Tell me that's not crazy. Boy, that ain't crazy. Man, that's crazy. That's crazy. Haiti paying the French. I'm telling you, man, that's crazy, crazy, crazy. Paying the oppressors reparations. You can't make this stuff up. One day, melanated people gonna wake up. I don't know when. That's why y'all gotta melanated people in different places. You gotta separate yourself and do what you gotta do in your area, because you can't be connected to the hip to other areas. That's not progressive. You gotta let them FAFO. There's nothing else. What else you could do? Crazy. And I'm gonna be here in about an hour, and I'm gonna talk about reparations, the benefits of reparations. So I'm gonna talk about that too. But that's what's going on. I just wanted to let y'all know about that. We must keep pushing for reparations. We gotta push. We gotta push. We gotta push. All you foundational Black Americans in this country, push, 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 push for reparations. Okay? Don't let nobody cheat your ancestors. And you, the next generation, you don't stand up for people rob your ancestors and using the money that they robbed from your ancestors to keep you oppressed and selling you goods that your ancestors helped them create and never got paid for it. And you turn around buying cotton and stuff like that. You understand? I don't think Africans are glad to speak French, Spanish, and English because in African countries they speak a lot of different languages. There's really no such thing as Africans. So there's really no such thing as Africans. Those are a lot of different tribes, and there's no way you can go in Africa where they all doing the same thing. A shout out to the brothers and sisters in Africa. I ain't gonna let nobody misrepresent the brothers and sisters in Africa. The brothers and sisters in Africa, they don't have no way. Now that's working against them kind of, but you can't say Africans this or Africans that because they're not united. In Africa, big. And so if you in South Africa, I mean South Nigeria, Man, you don't know nothing about North Nigeria. Like, I don't think people understand. If you live in East Nigeria, man, you don't know nothing about West Nigeria. Let somebody just tell you. That's a whole nother world. I don't think a lot of foundational Black Americans understand that about Africa. It's not like from Chicago to LA. It's bigger than that. That's not like going from Chicago to LA. That's in one country. If you in South Nigeria, you in a whole world by itself. And then it's a bunch of different South Nigeria. It's this part, that part, that part, that part. And it ain't alike. I don't think a lot of people see. I study Africa, so you can't stereotype. Africa is too big to stereotype. There is no kind of way. Africans ain't no kind of way. To be honest, I ain't gonna lie. You can't say Africans is like this. You could say they're not united, but I can't say, oh, I can say how they act when they come here. So I can say, oh, when Nigerians come here, typically this, which is not all of them, but typical. But I can't say, oh, in Nigeria they this. That's false. Oh, in Ethiopia, no. There is no, they ain't Africans, and they're not really Nigerians, Ethiopians. Like, I'm gonna have to do more videos on that to teach foundational Black Americans about Africans. They not really what they be telling you. It's really no such thing as Nigerians. They only Nigerians because they come here and they register them based off the country they left. But in Nigeria, they not really Nigerians. They Nigerians when it comes to soccer, right? So when it comes to cheering for the soccer team, they're Nigerians. But when it comes to them living, they not no dang on Nigerians. They not Ethiopians. They not no ain't really no Ethiopians technically in Ethiopia. It's like here, but more intense. Because, like here, we Chicagoans, we really, we Black Americans, but this Chicago. I know, I keep trying to tell them. It's big, and they tribes. Africa big, and they are distinct tribes. Man, you could go to Africa and see one tribe and see another tribe, and they don't look alike. All of them look like this, and all of them look like that. I'm telling you, Africa's tripped out. And ain't really no such thing as no African. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to tell you. I'm trying to tell you. Over here, they don't understand that. This is why there ain't no African unity. Africa big. Big, 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 big. You could be here from one side of Nigeria and somebody from the other side of Nigeria, and y'all ain't really know too much about each other back at home. But you might connect with them just from the fact they from Nigeria, like, oh, okay, my brother from Nigeria. But as far as really close, not really. You never would have met dude unless y'all both came to Chicago or both came to New York or both, you know what I'm saying? That's the only way you would have met him. You never would have met him in Nigeria. That's how big. Listen, man, Nigeria got 200 million blacks. Nah, you being disrespectful. I disagree. Imagine you saying they proud to speak the oppressor's language and you speak in English. See what I'm saying? You know you just wrote that in English, right? So how you gonna say somebody else proud to speak their oppressor's language? You ain't speaking your traditional language. If you black, John, are you speaking your traditional language from ancient times? No. Are you proud? No. But you don't have to speak your traditional language because I always remember something, young people. Language don't make no difference. The only thing makes difference is communication. So as long as I say something to you and you know what I'm saying, that's all that matters. So it's about communication. It's not about language. It's about communication. That's it. And you're going to say whatever you got to say to communicate. That's it. It's no reflection of you, no matter what language you're speaking. So if you're in a part of Africa where everybody speaks French, yeah, you're going to speak French because that's how you're going to communicate. And as long as I say, let me get 2 buckets of water and a bunch of mangoes, as long as you understand, everything is good. You understand? See, I learned that young when I found out the name of Africa was El-Aton, right? So when I found out the real name was El-Aton, I wanted to call it by the real name, right? So when I would teach people, I would say, yeah, we come from El-Aton. What would they say? What is that? So now think about that. I'm trying not to, I don't want to say Africa. I want to use the real name, right? So I said to young people, we from El-Aton. They said, what is that? What I got to end up saying? That's Africa. So if I'm going to say El-Aton, and for you to understand what I'm saying, I still got to say Africa, I might as well say Africa in the first place. Because the idea is for you to know what place I'm talking about, not to call it by whatever it used to be called. That's not communication. So using the word El-Aton is not communication. Communication is saying Africa. So that's how I learned that as a young brother with knowledge. I had to keep saying the real word. So I'm like, okay, this don't make no sense for me to keep saying Africa, and I still got to say, El-Aton, I still got to say Africa. So I might as well say Africa. I got to say it anyway. Nobody know what I'm talking about. And I'm trying to make a point about the continent called Africa. So what difference do it make what I call it as long as the person I'm talking to know what I'm saying? If I say, yeah, we're from Kemet, and you're like, where's Kemet? And I say, Kemet is Egypt. No. Listen, you slow. You're not listening to what I'm saying. Communication. I'm talking about communication. So if you walk up to somebody right now and say, we from El-Aton, and they say, what is that? What you gonna say, crazy Pat? Or crazy Picky? What you gonna say? When you say we from El-Aton, we talk about communication. We're not talking about what you talking about. I'm talking about communication. You're not discussing communication. I'm talking communication. So this might be over your head because what you said don't make no sense. You're just saying stuff just to be saying stuff. No, it's not Elgibility. It's Africa when you communicate. Period. That's a fact. It's Africa. No, not modernization. Communication. Communication. Listen, if you go to a Hispanic country, is it one or is it uno? I rest my case. It's uno. If you want them to know what you're saying. It's uno, dos. It's not two. Now, this might be over your head because you're not listening good. I'm talking about communication. If you go to Mexico, it's uno, dos. It's not one and two. Communication. Uno. Now imagine I say, oh, I'm in down there's uno, and you say it's always one. It's forever one. No, it's not forever one. In South and Central America, it's uno. For the sake of communication. Some of y'all want to debate, but you don't listen well. So for me to teach, I had to use the words for the people to know what I'm talking about. And if I'm saying Elgibility and they don't know what I'm talking about, I'm not a good teacher. I got to say Africa, because then they know what I'm talking about. It's just that simple. It makes no sense to say we need to go to Elgibility. And they say, what's Elgibility? Africa. So I still end up saying Africa. So what's the point of leaving Africa out to have to say it later? I'm telling y'all what I did. If you were a baby, what year you was born? Well, shut up and let me teach. Let me do what I'm doing. Because I was calling it Elgibility probably before you was born. Before you was born. But nobody knew what it was. So I couldn't teach. I couldn't be saying Kemet and Elgibility. Nobody knew what the hell I'm talking about. How I'm a teacher if nobody know what I'm talking about? And I got to end up saying the same word I avoided. I avoid a word and still have to say it. Does that make any sense? No. So let's move on. It doesn't make no sense. I don't want to say Africa. I say Elgibility. They say, where's Elgibility? And I still got to say Africa. Does that make sense? Crazy. Does that make sense? To say Elgibility and still have to say Africa? Does that make sense? Yes or no? Just give me a yes or no. Does it make sense to say Elgibility and I still got to say Africa? You know? So that's why I stopped saying. I said, okay, I need to say what they know. I can't say what I know. What I know is not communication. Communication is what they know. If they know French, communication is talking French. If they know Spanish, communication is talking Spanish. If they know Africa, communication is saying Africa. You see what I'm trying to tell you, Crazy Pie? So I had to tone it down because I end up having to say the word anyway. So I was like, this is stupid. Why don't I just say Africa and Egypt? That's why I named myself Pharaoh. People are like, well, Pharaoh is Greek and all that. But for people to know what my name meant, I had to use the word they name. I couldn't say Suiton and all of that. They don't know what the hell that is. They know what Pharaoh is. It's a very hard way to teach because if I'm trying to teach you, it's a lot of gold in Africa, and I'm saying Alkebula. Now I can't teach you about the gold because I got to teach you. Well, Africa's called Alkebula. And like, oh, and then I got to go back and say, so yeah, so in Alkebula, they got all the gold. But the point is, where's the gold at? The gold is in the place you call Africa. Yeah, nobody want to keep. Yeah, nobody want to keep. Nobody know what you're saying. You got to understand. I started teaching in 1978. So imagine they still ain't saying Al-Kibla. Let that sink in. 78, 88, 98, 2008, 2018, 2000. It's going to be 50 years in 2028. I've been teaching. And nobody still ain't saying Al-Kibla. Why would I say that for 50 years and nobody don't know what it is? Another thing about teaching is people being born faster than you can teach. So if I go out here and I teach 5 people a week, how many people was born that week? Kemet is just Egypt. Al-Kebulan is the continent. And Kemet is just Egypt. So Kemet is just Egypt. Al-Kebulan is the continent. But I'm saying if I teach 5 people a week, which usually you're only going to teach, you'd be lucky if you teach 5 people a month because you ain't going to necessarily be in the environment to teach. So if I teach 2 people, 5 people a year, how many people was born that year? So there's more people being born than we can teach, basically. And the only way we can change the mindset, we would have to take over the schools and teach it in the schools where you got 25 kids per class and you could teach them all. But other than that, if the children coming up in a public school, they ain't gonna know nothing. Yeah, ancient Kemet is Egypt, and Al-Kibilan is the word, the original name for the continent that we call Africa. Basically. And then there's a whole bunch of other variables. There's a bunch of different variables. So that's another thing. It doesn't stop. So it does get ridiculous because it really doesn't stop. So you'll be going on and on and on and on and on because over time these places had a lot of different names. So imagine trying to teach this. I don't even go there. You see? If you want to keep it really real. This is before the Europeans divided everything up. Look over there where Nigeria and stuff was. That was a big kingdom. That wasn't no Nigeria and Ghana and all that. That wasn't that. Look at Kush. Look at Punt. Look at TWA, TWA. And so now they definitely ain't ready for this. I could do it, but people they not ready. You know what I'm saying? I can't teach everything I know like that because it's too much. You know what I'm saying? They, I would just confuse everybody. You understand? This would be too much for them. Now imagine me, trying to, really break all this down in 2028, 2026. It'd be too much. You know what I'm saying? So I just have to say Ethiopia. I have to say what they know today. Or if I talk what I know, they, why they doing reparations, there's no they. There's no they. And so this is the city of Evanston. The city of Evanston is a local city that the people dealt with certain discrimination. So the local city wanted to pay the people for the discrimination in Evanston. The reparations you're talking about is the national reparations for slavery and Jim Crow and all that. So, in other words, AIS, if you and your parents moved to California, and then California did what your grandmother moved to California, and California, the state did a lot of discriminatory stuff to your ancestors. That would be a state reparations based on those specific laws in that state. Now, slavery would be a national reparations because it was all across the South, and it was had a lot to do with travel and inter continental trade and country from country to country trade. So that would be national. Now, so not all reparations is national. You could have local reparations for maybe. Now you good. You could have local reparations for local things that happen. So this is a local reparations for what happened to people in Evanston between a certain time period. That's a good question. This is a local reparations for things that happen between a certain time period. So that was a good question. And I'll go back and touch on it again for people that came late. Uh, this is a local reparation that they saying, brother, they saying this one is for Hold on. This one is specifically for eligibility requirement applicants had to be Black residents of Evanston, 18 or older, who lived in that city between 1919 and 1969 or are descendants of such individuals. So, what they're paying for, AIS, is they're paying for whatever type of discrimination that they were practicing in Evanston between 1919 and 1969. And so if your grandmother was there, they went through a lot of racism where they was, in that period, they was redlining in Evanston. So they said, if your family lived through all of that and they still got the property, they're going to give you $25,000 for home improvement, mortgage assistance, or a down payment. Because let's say my grandmother was there, or my great grandmother, and she ended up having to move because of the racism. If I could prove my grandmother lived there, they're going to give me $25,000 where I could come back and buy a home there, maybe even buy the same property that my great great grandparents owned. So they trying to make it right, because you got to understand, when it comes to reparations, you got national reparations and local reparations where local governments were doing things. So imagine your parents went through slavery, your great great grandparents went through slavery, and years later, their grandchildren move to Chicago and face some more different discrimination in Chicago. Well, that lawsuit for that discrimination is separate from the discrimination of their ancestors, right? So there's a lot of different reparations owed, local and national. I used to get it wrong too, AIS. I thought, oh, we don't want that little bit of money, we want the big money, but I was wrong. Those two don't go together. Those two don't go together. This has nothing to do with national reparations. This is just based on local racism. See, look at the bottom. Though the United States has not implemented a widespread slavery program, calls have circulated across the country for them to be introduced, as several states and cities have pushed for proposals and programs which would benefit the descendants of slaves and Black Americans at large. But this reparations is local. So they explain that in the last paragraph. So this is local, and one don't have nothing to do with the other one. This has something to do with, so check into that. All of you all find out if your grandparents and great grandparents went through some type of redlining or discrimination in your city or state, you're owed that reparations too. But that reparations won't have nothing to do with slavery reparations. So you can get reparations twice, 3 times if they lived here and got discriminated against, then moved there and got discriminated against. Both of those places would owe you for that local discrimination, like redlining. If in Chicago we could prove that the city of Chicago or the state of Illinois was practicing redlining, and we can find out what property was lost, where they intentionally built freeways and we lost our homes, we can sue the state of Illinois for state reparations for the mistreatment that happened in the state. But the state didn't have us picking cotton. But the state, most of these states owe us reparations too. I had that mixed up. I used to say the wrong thing. So like, we don't want that money. We want. I didn't know it was two different reparations, maybe three. I just heard the word reparations. I was like, man, we don't want that reparation. We don't want. We want all our money. I was, didn't know what the hell I was talking about. Basically, one thing about me, if I don't know what the hell I'm talking about, I don't got no problem. I don't got no problem come back saying, I don't know, I didn't know what the hell I was talking about. I don't have to stand on stupidity. As soon as I find out, oh no, that's all wrong. Okay. Okay, this is it. I'm not just standing on nothing I said when I find out what I said was incorrect. A lot of you brothers got to stop doing that. Once you find out it's incorrect, flip flop like me. I flip flop, boop. I'm on the new stuff. I ain't on that no more. I ain't on what I said Thursday. No, you know what I'm saying? That's why I'm always right. I'm always right. I am always right because when I'm wrong, I start saying the other stuff. Facts. Hey, I'm always right because as soon as I find out I'm wrong, I turn the car. I start saying the other stuff like I've been saying it. And you're like, well, last week you said something else. No, that's last week. That's last week. Yeah, that's nonsense. You said it. That's nonsense. I'm telling you, this is what it is. I don't care. Stop connecting yourself to ideologies. You don't got to be connected to your beliefs. You can change. Quick. I'll turn the car real quick. All you got to do is make some sense. I could be arguing with you right now. As soon as you make some sense, I drop my argument immediately. I'm not going to keep going after you made some sense. I be talking to brothers. I be that made sense, and they just keep going. I said, what's wrong with them, bro? I just showed you. You ain't like Big Pharaoh. Once you make sense, flip-flop. Run for local office? No, that's not my thing. Yeah, that's not my thing. I'm a businessman and a musician and stuff like that. So that's not my thing, running for local office. You know what I'm saying? In a couple of weeks, I'm going to be 68. That's not my thing. You know what I'm saying? They never liked people with dreadlocks and stuff like that. So all of my work in government and stuff like that, I already threw the baby out with the bathwater because I've been discriminated against with this hair since I was 20 years old. So since 1978, I've been kicked out the system, could barely get a job. So after so long not being able to get a job, not being respected because you got dreadlocks, not being accepted, you just don't want to be accepted no more, just doing you. So I'm not trying to get back in the system. Although they're like, well, the system changed. It's too late. I'm 68. It's too late. You know what I'm saying? What do you want me to do? I don't do holidays or nothing. On the side note, I don't do no holidays. But if you got a queen, buy her something for Valentine's Day. But just tell her, I don't believe in Valentine's Day, but I love you here. Like that. Because I buy my queen stuff for Valentine's Day. Long as they know I don't believe in Valentine's Day. I don't believe in Cupid. Cupid is stupid or none of that. But I love you. So here, I want you to feel loved and appreciated. But I don't do the holiday. See what I'm saying? So that's the one day. I always buy my children stuff for Christmas. I don't believe in Christmas, So I give it to them early. And I always, if I got a queen that I'm really locked in with, I'll always buy her something for Valentine's Day. Cause I don't want her to feel left out. I don't want my children to feel left out. I don't want my queen to feel left out. So I'll buy it. But I'm not putting on red and hearts and all that. I'm not doing all that. And I'm gonna talk about that on Valentine's Day. It's not a good holiday. It's an evil holiday because Cupid was a demon, and what he would do is he would shoot people and make people fall in love with people they ain't supposed to fall in love with. They had the power to shoot you with an arrow, and then you have sex with an animal. Yeah, so it ain't okay. Think about a little angel. Why would they shoot you with an arrow? That sound positive? So I'm gonna talk about that on Valentine's Day. I'm gonna talk about that, the satanic dark side of Valentine's Day. It was about making people fall in love with people you ain't supposed to be falling in love with. So like you could be married to a wife and got 3 children, right? And if Cupid shoot me with an arrow wine by another woman, I start cheating on my wife, right? And tell my wife I fell in love with this other lady and leave my wife and 3 children because now I'm in love with this lady. Is that positive? No. Because you got to understand, Cupid is a fallen angel. Righteous angels can't run around here doing stuff. So what kind of angel can run around man doing mischievous? You understand? Yeah, I be tripping sometimes. So I'm gonna talk about that Saturday. I'll talk about that. You know what I mean? So as I'll buy my queen that stuff, but long as she don't try to push the holiday on me. It's like, babe, I love you here, but you can't hang all this stuff up in the house and creep me out. You understand? You can't hang all this witchcraft and stuff up in the house. But I'll buy you some, some natural chocolate, plant based, chocolate in the box and all that. I'll buy you some sexy clothes and all that. But you know what I'm saying? That's just about you and me. It ain't about no holiday. And brothers, don't be doing that for no girlfriend. She got to really be your queen. She can't be no damn girlfriend. If you ain't knocking her back out, don't buy her nothing. Much love, Mac. You know what I'm saying? She got to be your queen to do that. Y'all got to be in a living quarters together. You know what I'm saying? Y'all got to be in a living quarters. Y'all got to be in a real relationship. Don't you buy that stuff for no girl you just started talking to when y'all ain't no solid couple like that. You know what I'm saying? To the brothers out there on Valentine's Day, don't buy her nothing if it ain't no strong relationship. Like no new somebody, you know what I'm saying? It depends on how much you in love. If you get with her and you strongly in love right away, then do it. But if not, and you still feeling it out, don't do all that. You sending a false signal. You ain't even really love her like that. So we'll talk about that. I hope y'all learned something of this. Shout out to Evanston, is doing a great job. We want reparations, right? Reparations is a must. Push for reparations. And I'm going to come in a minute and I'm going to talk about the benefits of reparations, why the U.S. should give us reparations. That's going to be heavy in about 45 minutes or an hour. And that's going to be real heavy. So get ready for that. You know what I'm saying? In the meantime, keep pushing for reparations. Reparations is a must. Victory.